Hey, it's Andrew Walton here, and we are taking another look at French Lessons Australia. Gonna have some fun in this video and look at some pages other than the home page. Quickly starting with the pop-up. From a design perspective, I would say make the text not all caps. You could capitalize the first word. You could possibly capitalize the first letter of every word, but I certainly wouldn't have the entire text in caps. All caps is okay for a headline. It's okay for your CTA, but this decreases readability. So I would definitely change that. In terms of making the copy stronger, I would think about what is the worst case scenario where these phrases could come in handy, and also the best case scenario. What's going to make their stay particularly spectacular, what's going to help them from a potentially dangerous or unpleasant situation. And you can reference that in the copy. Of course, strategically, this will only work if this offer is actually the thing that your audience wants most. And that will require some sort of interviewing or surveying. If your audience is learning French in order to travel to France or another French-speaking country, then this offer makes sense. If it's for different purposes, then you may want to consider a different lead magnet. So with that said, let's look at some of the different pages now. So about pages are kind of funny in that we think that they're about us, but really an about page is about your reader, about your prospect, about your customer. And the way that I would start this out is saying something along the lines of, if you're trying to X, if you're trying to Y, if you're trying to Z, then you're in the right place, and here's why. And then you can talk about what they're going to get from being on the site, and then you can introduce yourself and talk a little bit about yourself. Basically, the purpose for talking about you is to lend credibility to the claims that you're making about what you're going to do for them and what the result that they're going to get. So here's an example of an awesome about page, starting with testimonials, but this is the section that I want to refer you to. If you've ever asked yourself any of the questions below, you're in the right place. So this is all about the reader, the customer, etc. And it has an option for opting in, which I'd also recommend including. This sort of material. Now, if you don't have these sorts of testimonials, you don't have to do this sort of headshot. You can, but the way that your page is set up is fine in that regard. You can just put this sort of text in the right-hand column. And just to give you an idea, then the next section is exactly as I described. Here's what you're going to get. And then finally, Derek actually talks about himself, only at the very bottom of the page, in order to show his credibility. And finally, call to action at the bottom, also very important. You have to think about what is the actual purpose of the about page. What are you trying to get people to do? So this is actually good. You have some opportunities to opt in. We would still have to answer the question of, are these the right sorts of lead magnets? But at least you have these in place, and that's a good start. Now, in terms of a free assessment, this would need some sort of explanation because it sort of comes out of nowhere. An assessment for what? What are the benefits? Why should they do this now? What pains are they going to avoid? And so on and so forth. So transitioning from where you've been talking about who you are and what you do, that's okay, but the assessment is very abrupt then. It doesn't really have any context. So it's very hard. It's going to be hard for anyone to take action here. This is the same lead magnet as the pop-up, so I'm not going to address this in any more detail here. So again, quick recap. The about page is about your prospect, about your reader. So lead with their pain points, what they want to discover, then talk about what they're going to get, and finally talk about yourself, and then offer them some different options to opt in, which again, you have. So that's good. So let's look at some other pages. Okay, I've chosen one of the many service pages, just as an example. They're all quite similar in many regards, so this advice will apply to most, if not all of them. Here, we really have to massively upgrade the copy. So first of all, headline. So this is what it is. That's okay for this sort of educational setting, but still, it would be better if you could include some sort of benefit, some sort of time frame or outcome or pain that you're going to overcome in the combination of headline plus subheadline. So if you want the headline to be French lessons for adults, fine, but then the subheadline should be some very tangible benefit. Not just that it's the most popular class at your school, because that's talking about the school, but something that actually is a benefit to the reader specifically. What are they going to achieve by taking this particular class? Now, there is a real lack of useful information here. I don't know how often the classes are. There's really no information about anything regarding the classes, what level they're at, how many students in a class, how often are the classes, what time are the classes at, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of basic information that needs to be communicated here. And then the other thing that needs to happen is there needs to be a lot more benefit and opportunity and overcoming pain in the copy. At this point, if we're thinking about stage of awareness of the prospect, of the reader, someone who is clicking on services and going to French lessons for adults, they already know, almost certainly, they already understand why French itself is important. They're not pain aware or completely unaware. They are at a stage of they know the solution. They are looking for a product to solve their problem. So you don't have to convince them that French itself is something valuable to do. That's why they're on your site in the first place. On the product page, you should be talking about the product itself, well, the service in this case, and more importantly, all the benefits of that service, which should be in this section, basically. But it should be expanded out, so you're going to need more than 3 lines, almost certainly. And then you also need some sort of call to action. So, okay, I've read all this text. Now what do I do? You can have a button here where it's something like apply for or sign up for a free class, something like that. Thinking about what action would be the most valuable to your business on this page. Well, you want them to get in touch with you in some way. You could try to make the complete sale, but I know from working in this niche in a couple of different countries that usually the best way that this is going to work is to get someone to come into your studio, your home, wherever you run these lessons, show up for a free class, give them a great experience, and then sign them up for something. So that's the method that I would recommend here. Now, if we actually scroll down, this simply lacks benefits. This is simply what it is. So beginner, intermediate, advanced, fine. That's what it is. Interactive exercises, video, audio, games. Why is this important? Why should I care? Great practical topics. Again, needs more connection to the audience. This is very, very superficial, sort of base level stuff. And learning French the easy way, this is almost a benefit, but you have to explain why is this easier? Why should they believe that this is the easy way? What about it makes it easy? So if you talked about your particular method somewhere and explained exactly why it's easy, and you could even do that, say, in a video here, explaining exactly what your approach is, why it works, why it's superior to other approaches, why it will work for the particular target audience that you're targeting, etc. That will be very effective. Now, to go a little bit farther, this sort of, I don't know if this is just code that's replicated across every single page, but at this stage, your objective is to make the sale. So you don't need a free assessment and you don't need this free guide. What you have to do is, this is appropriate in different contexts. It's not appropriate on what amounts to your sales page. Basically, you want to adhere to the idea of one page having one singular goal, and everything on that page should be designed to achieve that goal. Some exceptions for home pages some of the time, but in general, that's the way you want to be thinking, and it will take you a lot farther than having your product up here with no call to action, and then a free assessment, and then another lead magnet. So that is something that can be adjusted, and that applies to all of these pages, of course. So I'm actually going to leave this video at that because that's actually going to be a lot of stuff to change. You have the About page, and you have, let's see, 6 different service pages that are all going to need updating, and those are the highest leverage changes that you're going to be able to make right now on your website. Far more important than, say, anything you could do on one of these other pages down here. So once you're done with these updates, we can certainly take a look at some other pages, but for now, that is a heck of a lot of stuff to do. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I wish you the best of luck, and I'll see you in another video soon.